So this is the second video that we're talking about sloped slab edges and potential geometry issues. The first one we talked about how to simply apply a slab edge to a sloped floor. And what you'll find when you apply a slab edge to a sloped floor, even if you get it to work, is that you don't necessarily have the same control over the way the geometry joins. In fact, you can't get, in many cases, the geometry to join. So for example, here's a flat slab with a slab edge applied to it, and I can use my modify tool to use the join geometry command, select the slab edge. And the advantage of this is when you're working like when you're doing detailing and just your line work in general, that can be a real benefit for your documentation. That won't happen with the sloped slab edge, so I'll try to do the same thing here. Join this slab edge to the sloped slab, and it gives me a message like this. And it's just because the geometry doesn't exactly line up everywhere. That might be poking out a little bit in elevation or above the edge, top edge of the slab. So what we'll need to do in this situation is we'll need to essentially use the slab edge tool a little bit differently in order to make things look better. It won't be perfect, but it will be better. So as we mentioned before, can't apply slab edges to a sloped floor, so I'm going to edit the sketch. I will cut out the slope arrow for now, finish the floor, and we're going to essentially get rid of the slab edges that we do have. So let me do that and use the add remove segments tool, which is always kind of fun to use here. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't, but it looks like I pretty much got all four. Okay, so good. So it's flat again, and what I'll do now is essentially change the value of the slope edge profile. So to do so, I'll go into the families, and then I believe it's profiles, and slab edge thickened, and I believe well, first of all, just maybe a step back here under floors, slab edge. It's a system family, so if I go into the type properties, you'll see that this type is using the slab edge thickened 24 by 12 inch. Okay, so that's good to know. I'll go down here to profiles and then go to its type properties. And what we're going to do here, taking into account that we're using a 6-inch thick slab, I'm going to change the thickness from 1 foot to 6 inches for this particular type. And that may not make sense instantly, but I'll go ahead and click OK. And we'll unjoin elements. I think that's referring to this other slab edge over here. So, wherever that's placed is going to create problems, but of course we're kind of starting anew here. So with that new profile and the new slab edge, what I'll do now to essentially get the same result as I had before was I'll go into structure, slab edge, and use that same thickened 24 by 12 inch slab edge, but instead of using the top edge of the slab, I'll choose the bottom edge. Now I realize that as per your construction documents, it's the top edge that is what determines the thickness of the slab edge. But again, to get the geometry in here, this is essentially what we'll need to do. So that's done. Then, of course, as we did before, edit the sketch, paste that slope arrow back into the sketch, and finish. And then we'll get that same, basically the same section. So if I head over here to my plan view, I think I'm in level 2, and then we'll do a cross section through this. So let me just do a cross section right here, go to that view, and you can see, of course, we're looking at that. Let me just make the depth of the section a little bit more narrow so we don't see as much of it in the background. But there we go. That's essentially what we were after. Again, the join geometry tool is not going to work in this case because they might not always reach each other. There might be some separation there. So I'm not going to show it, but basically if you want to detail this condition, then you're going to need to use detail components, Linework tool, detail lines, that type of thing, to essentially detail it and have it look the way you need it to. But at least you've got the geometry basically right.